All right, hello and good evening. I think we are live everywhere. Yes, we are. Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of the above. Okay, let's give folks a few minutes to get in here since I just went live. We are working on a new project instead of continuing with the Dreadnought tonight. Because we entered another painting contest at a local game store. So that is what we're working on tonight, the Contest Mini, which I will show in a minute once I fill my water cup. Had to have water to rinse the brushes. You'll notice if you've caught me live recently, I've had some pictures of a Dreadnought in the corner of my screen. The Dreadnought has been disabled, as we are going to paint this guy right here. So, this is the mini that we're going to be painting. Very fancy. It's going to take a little while to get him painted. Hopefully not too terribly long. I've never done a bust like this before, so this should be an interesting experience. But I'm always interested in trying new things, and entering these painting contests makes it so I have to get out of my, Black Templar comfort zone and paint, usually painting something this size to something much larger with lots of exposed skin. So we'll be working on this as kind of a practice run, because I've, usually when I'm doing skin, let me grab one more mini real quick. Not much. Oh, thank you. My wife very much appreciates it. Anyway, as I was about to say, typically when I'm doing skin, it's like about that much on a mini, and I just do a base, do a wash real quick, and then do some dry brushing with the original color. I don't know how well a wash would go on this, so I practiced on a different mini, trying to get some, more accurate skin using layers of paint instead of, just doing some painting in a wash. So we will see how this goes on a much larger model. Have you seen my Dreadnought lately? That thing is looking badass. Hi, honey.
What you doing?
I'm showing off my minis.
To the peeps?
Mm-hmm. Because, yes, this is what I usually paint, and now I have to paint this, which has a lot of exposed skin. Did one last week, a Ballistus Dreadnought. I am currently working on a Brutalis Dreadnought. Oh, hello, Mrs. Dune, from Josh, the guy who helped the stream.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm currently working on a Brutalis Dreadnought. I just started on the Sarcophagus last week, and is looking really good. So you'll have to go look at my other TikToks if you're watching on TikTok, or if you come over to Twitch, there's a permanent link for Discord over there. Yeah, I'm already well over 8 hours on my Dreadnought. Alright, let me just grab it real quick. Yes, this is where we're at on the Dreadnought right now. It took me, I think, 9 hours of assembly, and I think I'm probably 12 hours into painting it, because I'm doing like a ridiculous amount of detail on this thing. Yeah, I was just experimenting, and I'm super happy with how all that turned out. Because all the different colors are actually contrast paints. I used a really bright white paint on the tubes, and then used a contrast paint over them to make them super bright, and yeah, it came out very nice. Anyway, but that's not what we're working on tonight. We are working on the Contest Mini. We're going to start off with the easy stuff, his rock arm. I'm going to be using some speed paint for that, just to kind of move that process along. But I am going to take my time on the actual skin and trying to, do a larger scale of what I did on this D&D mini that I've had sitting around, just experimenting with it. But we're doing 3 different layers of paint. We're starting with the XV88, and then moving up to Cadian flesh tone, and then some Kislev flesh. This is going to, like I said, my first time painting a bust this size and painting that much skin. But enough yammering and stammering. Let's start painting. I said, shake this up a little bit. I mean, I could do, the slow method of painting the rock, but I've done some small stones with the speed paint and liked how they looked. So I'm just going to try some of that on this and hope it comes out nicely. Get the junky wash brush going, because that's essentially what speed paints are, or contrast paints, is a wash. Love you, babe.
Love you. Come on, babies.
And you just kind of smear it on there, let it pool down into the recesses and whatnot. Gives you your definition around the stones. Normally, I haven't used a lot of speed paints. I got these for the last painting contest mini that I did, just to try them out. And they seem to work fairly well. I'm not going to be super clean and accurate with this. Thank you for the follow, FD Drifter. Much appreciated. The nice thing about working on this larger model is I don't have to wear my old man glasses yet, because I'm just kind of smearing paint on it. I'll probably have to do a couple of coats of the speed paint, but we are going to be doing some interesting effects and things as we get farther into the mini. But right now, just trying to get a good base coat on the stone section. I said the whole speed paint thing is new to me. But it's something I wanted to try because at some point I may consider doing consignment painting or commission painting, like paint a bunch of minis and see if a local game store will put them on display and try and sell them for me, you know, just to kind of get my name out there, and then potentially at some point maybe start doing some commission work. But who knows? That's a ways off before I get to that point. Gonna try and keep this in frame where everybody can see it. But speed paints are definitely a different beast than what I'm used to, which is why it takes me so long to paint minis, because I hadn't really ever used them before. But I do like how they come out, speed paints and contrast paints. Check me if I've been painting for 5 weeks. I will try and remember to do that at the end of the stream. I'm not sure how to do that while I'm live. And, you know, anybody that follows while I'm live on TikTok or whatever, I usually, at the end of the stream, I will go check their page out, see what they're doing, what projects they've been working on, if they do minis. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'll give them a follow. Just to, you know, keep up with whatever projects they're working on. So people got some really neat stuff out there. So I do try and follow quite a few people on TikTok just to get ideas if I ever do paint like different armies or branch out from just Warhammer models. So I'm not being super concise and super accurate right now, just smearing the paint on to get this guy going, because I only have till Saturday at midnight or Sunday to midnight. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up again. I have a limited amount of time to paint this thing, so I'll use quicker painting methods in a couple of areas just to get ahead of the game a little bit. And try not to get my fingerprints in the paint as I'm spinning this guy around. Because that's just annoying when you do that. Of course, you'd have to have that right next to your face. But usually the local game store that does the painting contests that I've been doing, this is my second one, there will be a theme along with the mini, so you have to try and paint your mini to match the theme that they came up with. Last time it was this little owl bear in a suit, which is right here, and the theme last time was pastels, so it's some cute little flowers and little purple jacket. And last time, unfortunately, I've entered both times at the intermediate level because I think I'm a little bit past the novice level. So I enter at intermediate, and unfortunately I didn't place last time. Or I didn't place in the top 3. There's only 10 spots available in each class. But as you know, with doing the best I could, I guess it wasn't good enough to make it to the top 3, and I will continue pushing myself until I make the top 3, and then at that point I will consider moving up to the advanced painting level. Or maybe if I, get the intermediate, place an intermediate twice, maybe then I'll advance to the advanced level. But I don't know. We'll just play it by ear, see how it goes. But this Ashen Stone speed paint does do a really, really good basic stone look that we're going to add some stippling and whatnot to, just to make it a little more interesting as we go through the mini. So we already got a nice rocky looking appearance with very little effort. And I do need some more of this paint. Try not to drop the mini 57 times while I'm painting it. And listen to the missus and the puppy crash around upstairs while they're roughhousing. Sorry if you guys can hear that. But yeah, the speed paint, definitely leaves a good rocky effect while you're using it. I'm gonna have to give this some time to dry so I'm not smearing paint off while I'm trying to put more paint on, because that happens with all paints. You have to let them dry a little bit as you go. Thank you for the follow. Who burnt my toast? And unfortunately, I can't answer that question. Potentially it was you if you left it in the toaster too long. As again, I knocked the mini over. Oh, I missed some. He's got a couple more rocks sticking up here right at his waistline. Do I do Warhammer? Yes, I do Warhammer. That's mostly what I stream painting. No, this is a contest mini for a local game store. It's just you sign. I signed up for the painting contest, and this was the mini that they showcased, and so it's just a random 3D print that they give out for the purpose of the contest. I found it online. I think it's done by White Werewolf Studio. P the gluing. Not sure what you meant by that. But no, the one I'm painting now is just a random mini for a contest that I signed up for. Like I said, I'm doing how do you glue Warhammer? It depends. Oh, I'm sorry, it blocked your message. It depends on whether or not it's painted. If the parts of the mini that I'm working on are not painted yet, I use this Tamiya extra thin cement. It basically melts the plastic and fuses it together. But I do a lot of sub-assembly while I'm painting my minis. So, like on this dreadnought here, I mean, it is not put together yet. Yeah, you can use plastic glue for assembly. The Tamiya extra thin cement is a plastic glue. Like I said, on this one, like I'll put some of it together and then I'll start painting it, and like there's more chunks of it all over my desk. And then after the parts are painted, I use this Gorilla Glue super glue to put more and more parts together on it. Because there are some models like this intercessor, like if I'd put his arms on, his gun blocks his chest, so I wouldn't be able to paint the crest on his chest. That's Ballistus Dreadnought, so I'm painting the same one. I've just got to do the left arm. No, this is a Brutalis Dread. See, he's got his little tickle fingers over here on my desk. I just hadn't made it there yet. I just started at the base and moved my way up. And I have a long way to go on that guy, unfortunately. Oh yeah, it is a Brutalis. Okay, can we not attack each other in my office, please? Fuzzballs. Okay, so we have kind of a decent rocky texture. So let's add some detail to that. Let's see. I'm gonna take some Dawnstone. Make sure this is shook up. I did buy some of those Army Painter mixing balls to drop in here. I just hadn't done it on this one yet to help shake the paint up. But we're going to take our dry brush and with the Dawnstone, we're not actually dry brushing, we're just going to stipple on here and just kind of stab into the paint on the model. So you don't want to get all the paint off, you want to keep the bristles with a little bit more paint on them than what you'd normally have for dry brushing. And you're just gonna kind of tap on there to add some texture to it. paint. So we get some good variation in the stone as we go. And these are just, you know, quick, easy little techniques that you can use on your minis. Stippling, dry brushing. So it just gives a little more detail to the stone. Got any other sorry, can't talk. Got any other 40k factions that you paint or want to paint? Back in 5th edition, I played Necrons, so I have some painted Necrons, you know, in an army bag across my office. I keep saying, oh, I'm going to pull them out and show those off at some point, but they're not easily accessible at the moment. Okay, so now we've got a little bit darker gray in spots, using a little bit of a stippling method with a wider dry brush that I use. Now we're gonna go a lighter stone color. But as for other 40k factions, I mean, there are a few factions I'd like to do, but the amount of time that it takes to paint enough minis to field in said factions. I did kind of a silver color with like gold trim on the shoulder pads. So, I mean, not any like box art faction I've ever seen. So I guess it's kind of my own, but still kind of a very standard Necron paint scheme. But as for like the Templars that I'm doing, they are not exactly box art, but Duncan Rhodes, who does Too Thin Paints, has a really good video on how to paint Black Templars, and the color scheme that he used I think looks absolutely amazing on the Templars. So that's the color scheme that I went with. So got some good rocky looking surface. Normally I would do a wash on this just to kind of bring out some more details, but I'm planning on doing something different with this. I'm gonna like between all the rock sections on his torso and like the major lines up the arm, I'm gonna try and do kind of a glow effect. So we're gonna see how that works out when we get to that point. on the Mini. But for now, because I just wanted to, get a large chunk of the Mini painted, we're going to move on to do some skin. And this should be interesting because I've never painted this much skin on a Mini before. So I have watched a few videos, YouTube videos on how to do it, so we're just gonna run with it and see what happens. I did some testing on this D&D Mini. I think I left a little bit too much separation around the muscles, or not necessarily muscles on this guy, but like fat rolls on his back. So we'll try and bring that in a little bit closer and see if we can't get a nice, good, natural looking skin tone. It takes a lot of practice to paint faces. I have one around here somewhere. I've probably stripped the paint off of it 5 or 6 times. It's kind of hard to see this guy, but it just takes some practice. The eyes are the hardest part. Like on this one, I didn't paint his eyes. I just kind of left them dark. Let's say on this guy, I did actually paint his eye, or I don't paint eyes. I put white paint around the eyes, and then to finish the Mini, I have a very fine tipped micron pen, and that's what I do the pupil of the eyes with, is just a teeny tiny little felt tip pen. So that's my cheat on doing eyes. Anyway, so I mean, I'm not an expert. I can't paint eyes either. LOL, my brushes never do what I want when I need to be that. Yeah, I gave up on trying to use a brush and started using a pen. And I can't find the other face that I keep around that is going to end up being the face of my Marshall, because my desk is a complete and total disaster right now. I wish I knew where that was, because I think that's the best face I've ever done, and can't find him. It is what it is. Okay. We're gonna scoop some of our base layer for our skin, which is this XV88. I know I'm supposed to use like the back of the brush or something to get the paint onto the palette. And then get some water onto the palette to thin your paints. Always thin your paints. And at this point, because I am going to be touching the model, I'm going to put on a glove on my left hand, because I have a bad habit of like sliding the Mini in my fingers, and the oils in your hand will rub the paint off. And like I said, this one is for a contest, so I want to try to prevent rubbing any paint off of it and messing it up. So just very carefully apply our base layer of color. Some of the extra water out of the brush. And if it takes a couple of thin coats, that's fine. We don't need it, you know, perfect coverage the first go round. But what we're trying to do is avoid getting any like deep brush strokes into the paint. And by having a thin down paint, it helps to avoid that. Like I said, this is my first time doing this much skin on a model all at once. So we're gonna see how this goes. And he's got some scars and whatnot. So this should be fun. Seeing how this turns out. As we get a blob of paint on our stone because we're being sloppy, but it's fine in that area because I have plans on how I'm going to deal with that at a later time. See, this is one of those times where, of course, this is a 3D printed mini, where it's like I wish his arm wasn't attached because that's going to be a pain in the butt to get in there and get the paint where I want it when I get to that point. You, in general, prefer using contrast paints or base paints? In general, I like base paints. Base paints, layer paints. Using contrast paints or speed paints is a new thing for me. Since they, as far as I know, never really existed like the last few times that I've painted minis. Which I've painted off and on for years. So I've got old Necrons. Here's a D&D mini that I did a few years ago. I just like picking up minis and painting them every once in a while. Because it is a fun hobby. I'm sure Jesus loves you too. Thank you. And please, folks, do not disparage people over their beliefs. Everyone is allowed to believe however they want. Trying not to get, well, I'm not super concerned about getting paint on this hair at this point because I'll go back and paint his hair, but you know, just working around the mini. Like I said, it's going to take a couple of thin coats to get all this white covered up to have a nice smooth nice smooth layer to start adding on, but I do want to get it completely covered. A little bit more water. Go back in and thin your paint as you pull away from the main drop that you have on your palette. But a nice thin coat of paint lets the paint flow easier off of your brush and helps keep the paint smoother as you work your way around the Mini. And that is what we want. We don't want, grainy, gritty skin. But nice smooth skin. When did I start painting minis? This latest round in October of last year is when I picked up a bunch of more minis to paint when I started my Templar army. But I have been painting off and on for probably 15 years or so. Like I said, it's something that I like to pick up and do every once in a while. Of course, especially since I did a Necron army, all those years ago. But it's one of those things, like, until recently, with the Templar army, I hadn't done it a whole lot on a regular basis, and now it's like all of my streaming content is me painting minis, unless I'm like exhausted from work and can't focus on painting that day, which does happen to me. I have a very physical job as a delivery driver, and I deliver a lot of heavy stuff, so I have my days where I'm too tired to properly focus on painting. So I'll take the day off and of painting and play video games on stream or whatever. But with this guy, I don't have that luxury because I have a time frame in which I need to have it completed. But it's one of those hobbies that you can pick up and put down, pick up and put down over and over again. And each time you come back, it's kind of like riding a bicycle. You remember what you learned the last time you did it, and you can always still improve even though you've taken a break. Like people that ride bikes, like they rode bikes as a kid and then they quit riding bikes for years, and then all of a sudden they got back on it, rode a couple miles and got super winded, and then they, worked on building their endurance back up and start doing like super long bike rides all over town. So it's always something you can put down and pick up, as life happens. It's a great hobby that way. And, unless you like sell them or something, your unpainted minis will always be there when you have time to come back to them. So if you don't get everything done like the first time you try and paint an army, like I still have old Necrons that I never painted sitting in a box somewhere. I still have them, I just don't remember where they all are. But it, like I said, it is definitely something that you can put down and pick back up as life happens. Like I said, we're just trying to get this base coat to even out. Like I said, it's probably going to take a couple of thin coats to get complete coverage. And that is one of the benefits of working on a mini this size. Like you can paint a section, turn the mini, paint a section, turn the mini, and it gives your paint the time to dry, so you're not smearing paint around on a wet spot, which just peels the paint back off, and it gets super frustrating when that happens. But I understand he doesn't look like much yet, but we're getting there. This is one of those things that takes a while. I feel that when my model is symmetrical and small, I hate having to wait for the other side to dry. Thanks for the follow, The Gruesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, while it's frustrating because you want to keep painting, like you get in a good groove and you just want to keep going, but you wipe your brush across that spot that just wasn't quite dry yet, and it just peels the paint off, and you get super frustrated. You're like, oh no! But like I said, something this size, like I said, I don't know. Aside from vehicles, I don't paint things this large. And definitely don't have to do skin tones on something this large. So this is going to be interesting. Yes, streaking is irritating. This is a mini for a painting contest at a local game store. I forget what it was called when I Google searched the image. So I enter, like every time the local game store has a take-home painting contest, I enter because it gets me out of my safe zone and makes me learn different painting techniques, like painting this much skin, because this is usually what I paint, which is much smaller. But it gets me out of my comfort zone, makes me try new things, which will help me become a better miniature painter over time. Yes, I started a Black Templar army. Like, I'm sorry, for people that have been here longer, hearing me repeat myself over and over again. I started a Templar army back in October after the Space Marine 2 game came out. I started playing the game, and I used to play Necrons back in 5th edition. I was like, oh, I really want to paint a new army. And looked at the available minis and like saw the sculpts for the Black Templars. I was like, oh, that armor looks so badass. Starting a GSC army in a bit. What is a GSC? Sorry, I'm not familiar with all the acronyms, but it's like, come on, look at that. That is like one of the coolest posed minis I've ever seen. I had to start painting them. And I'm super happy with how they've been turning out too. Oops. Especially the one that I'm currently working on, which I'm taking a break from for the painting contest. But this Brutalis Dread has been way too cool figuring out how to paint it, and it's coming along super nice. I'm very happy with what I've done on that one. I cannot wait till I'm done painting that, but it's taken me forever because I do all my painting like this. I did finally pick up an airbrush just to help with base coats initially, and then as I improve my skill with it, might do some other fancy things. But I have a long way to go before I'm like doing super cool stuff with the airbrush, because there's definitely a learning curve on that particular tool. And Gene Stealer coat. Okay, yeah. GSC makes sense now. Derp, brain doesn't work. I hope you like purple. That agreed to get the combat patrol for the Gene Stealer cult. Yep. Yeah, I do like seeing some of the stuff that people come up with to paint their minis for Gene Stealers. If you do some like kit bashing and whatnot, I don't always have the presence of mind to do something like that when it comes to kit bashing. Of course, I don't own a ton of bits. More a fan of green. Then why no orcs? Orcs have lots of green. Okay. Tricky part around his face here. I want to make sure I don't get any paint in his eyes. Because I don't want to have those small... Oh, you have an orc army and a small guard army? Yes, I have a small Necron army and a very, very small Templar army, because I just started painting them not that long ago. But I'm trying not to get any paint down in that eye hole because I have plans. Plans for things. And I hope it works out. But we shall see. Not as concerned around the mouth. thinking of doing Chaos Armor Word Bearers recently with lots of cultists. Because, I mean, there are armies that I would like to paint and work on, but because I am such a slow painter at this point, I'm only going to focus on one at a time. And also, if you're painting Warhammer, you know how much those things cost, and I don't have infinite disposable income, unfortunately. It would be nice. Yeah, everyone goes at their own pace. And a lot of it depends on, the painting techniques that you use, as well as, how much detail you do. Because if you're doing a lot of detail, that just adds that much more time. And I like doing a lot of detail because I want when I finally get my Templar army on the tabletop, as I'm setting these guys out, I want the person across the table from me to be like, "Oh man, those are so cool." I want that reaction, so I spend way too much time doing teeny tiny little details and sub-assembly and all that nonsense just to get that reaction, or just in the hopes of that reaction. Not the best painter, so I just hit him with some no and call it a day. Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I've never really painted skin, like the skin on this guy's arm, that's just Cadian flesh tone and Agrax Earthshade wash, and then dry brushing Cadian flesh tone over the top of it. That's it. That's all I did on that. I just don't think I'd get a very I don't think I get a very smooth finish or consistent finish if I tried to do a wash on a mini this size to do the skin like that. So that's why I'm painting. Oh, come on, TikTok, really? Why do you do this to me? Yes, I would love to face your Space Marines with my orcs. It would just be like Octarius. Yeah, I mean, at some point I will get them on the tabletop. I just don't know when that point will be. Maybe I'll finish painting them in the middle of 12th edition at the rate at which I paint. Okay. Think we're almost in a good spot. And a little bit more around his mouth right here. To start with our first. Oh man. Like, sitting here doing all this, completely forgot to paint his hand. You got a whole hand right there you need to paint. Like, yay, I can start on my next layer. No, you cannot. LOL, no hand. You know, one thing I don't like about Orders how fast the editions come out. Yeah, because I'd been so long since I played, because, like I said, I played during 5th edition, and that was 15 years ago. Apparently, new editions come out like every 2 years now, and that's just wild to me. Like, you're gonna put out a new edition every 2 years. Like, I don't think that's even enough time to, you know, get all the rules down for your army, especially with how often, because, you know, they were known for all the erratas and FAQs and all that, you know, even back during 5th edition, you know, changing how armies worked and how rules interacted with each other. So that's nothing new for Games Workshop. It's like you take that in consideration with the constantly changing rules, and you're going to put out a new edition every 2 years. Wow. But that's what I get for falling out of the hobby for a while. I blame the current management and stockholders and BlackRock and whatnot. Yeah. Well, and there's lots of companies that have done the same thing, like Harley Davidson's in the same boat. It's instead of making a good quality product, they decided, oh, I'm just going to, you know, make money. I don't care what the consumers think about it, which is very frustrating because Harley Davidson has a motorcycle that I would like to replace my current Harley Davidson with, because I'm tired of picking up a 900-pound motorcycle, and their new adventure bike looks super cool. But I guess there's been a lot of shakeups at Harley recently. They fired their CEO and are getting someone else in charge. You do motorcycle? Yes, I do. Normally I'm wearing a Harley shirt. I just need to do laundry. I currently have a Harley Davidson Electra Glide Ultra Classic in the garage. Gigantic full-size touring bike. And then a couple years ago, my kids asked me to teach them how to ride. So I picked up a Ninja 500 off of Facebook because it's smaller, more nimble, easier to control. And that's what I'm teaching them to ride on, or have taught them how to ride on, as well as my wife. I don't know what that is, but alright, so like think of like the biggest Harley that you've ever seen. They're full-size touring bike, gigantic, poster boy motorcycle, bearded guy on a massive Harley. That's basically what I have right now. Ninja 500 is just like your basic sport bike. There's nothing real special about it. Okay. Yeah, if you ever watched South Park and they're making fun of all the Harley riders that are like in the bar, like because it's too quiet for them. Yeah, the bikes that they're on is basically what I ride. Okay. Now then, I watched a bit of South Park. Really want to watch the full thing though. I use it as a reference sometimes. I never really got into South Park. It was one of those kind of like, oh, it's a little dumb. um, so I reference it from time to time, but was never super into it. It's still a fun show. Like every once in a while, if you see it on, to watch it. But I don't intentionally seek it out. All right, let's shake up our next color. Since we got that base layer down real nice. Mostly watch on something like Amazon. Yeah, I've got like Hulu and Crunchyroll and Amazon Prime and all that stuff, and I still don't watch TV. I never have time. I'm either down here in my office, painting little pieces of plastic, or riding on the motorcycle, or sleeping because I'm exhausted from work, all that kind of stuff. Highly recommend I drop the Crunchyroll. There's a few shows on there that I like to keep up with. That I don't. I'm very malicious company. Oh, I'm sure they are. I mean, every company is a malicious company at this point. All they care about is profits. Show shows on PS5. Don't even have a TV in my room. Yeah. Yeah, every company is, all they care about is, how they can profit at the time anymore. So, meh. Not Costco. I don't know. Seriously? Let's move this out of the way so I don't accidentally splatter paint on something. I am painting whatever this is for a local game store painting contest. I think it's like Master of Earth or something like that. I don't remember what the name of the mini is, but it's just a random mini that they chose to utilize for our painting contest. And sorry, my phone is vibrating. The camera up here is actually my cell phone. So somebody messaged me, and so every once in a while you'll see the screen vibrate. Yeah, it's a neat looking mini, and I have some ideas when I get to that point. But I have a lot of skin to paint, and that's something that I haven't done a whole lot of, is paint skin. So we are working our way through that. Like I said, normally I'm painting much smaller things. Yeah, I probably should, but I never remember to put it on Do Not Disturb. So yeah, this is probably about the most skin I've ever painted at one time, and that's a base coat, a wash, and then dry brush with the original base coat again, which works if you're doing something small like that. But I'm actually trying to figure out, how to do more realistic skin, just to improve my skills as a painter. Which is why I do these painting contests when the game store has them. Because it makes me get out of my comfort zone and try new things and new techniques. And I end up going down ridiculous rabbit holes that take forever on how do you do this? How do you do that? Well, I think I'm going to go. It's been very nice. I'll keep an eye on it. Well, thank you, Gruesome. I'll definitely, if you've got videos up on TikTok, I'll definitely take a look at all those and probably give you a follow back when I'm done for the evening. I always like to see whatever. Oh, you don't upload? Ah, well. Well, then I guess you just have to watch my stuff when it comes out. But I always try and keep up with what everybody else is doing. Okay. Now for the fun part of being very precise with what I'm doing. Trying to grab these individual muscles. But you have a good night. Using very thin down paint, being very careful and very selective with where we're applying it now. Trying to get a natural looking skin tone as we build up the layers. And I may have to put on the old man glasses for this part of it. I need to be able to see all the little lines and wrinkles and ripples of where his muscles are. Painting the armor ready right now. Should have posted on my account soon. Cool. Yeah. I'm looking forward to when I get to the point where I can paint my Dreadnought's arms, because he's currently disarmed and my old man glasses are over here. So if you need some magnification and nobody's ever told you this little hack before, instead of having to go out and buy this ginormous thing, which I use every once in a while, these are reading glasses from Walmart. And they work amazing for a little bit of extra magnification to see what you're doing on your minis. And there's a random hair stuck in the end of my brush that needs to go away. I found painting skin, stealing my dad's glasses when I'm painting. Understood? Exactly. If he has reading glasses, or I mean potentially if he has bifocals, those may work as well. Probably actually work very well, as long as you don't have to use the upper lens to see too much. I think the mistake I made on the smaller mini that I did was I left much larger separations between like the rolls on his back. So I'm going to try and make all these lines a little bit closer together and not leave as large of a gap between the muscles, in hopes we get a better looking, smoother skin tone. Because right now he's kind of looking like the airbrush 300 Spartans. I spray painted my muscles on. But this is one of those techniques that's definitely going to take a little bit longer to paint with. Of course, when you're using acrylic paints, you end up like with this little blob of paint that appears at the end of your brush that keeps the paint from flowing off very well. It's annoying. Now we're just kind of building up the color little by little, trying to get those defined areas of muscle. Make sure we keep our paint nice and wet and thin, so don't have too much in your brush all at once. Makes it a little bit harder to manage. We're starting to get a pretty nice six-pack on our little dude here. And bring those lines in a little bit closer. We move over here towards the obliques. keep that good muscle separation without getting too extreme, because apparently there's something called like floating muscle if you do this wrong. So it looks like none of the muscles are actually connected and everything's just like floating. I would like to avoid. But I think we're looking good so far. So scar spots giving me a little bit of trouble. We will get that painted eventually. I have an idea for that. Got a couple of scars on this guy. Definitely need to pay attention right here. We get towards those obliques. Make sure we're keeping everything nice and separated. But yeah, I think we're making some good progress on this guy. Just wish I could see those lines in there a little bit better. We're getting there. There we go. Ever so carefully. Getting those muscles outlined. I guess I should say highlighted. I think that's right. Muscle highlights so far. Skin is kind of a complex thing. but I think we're getting the effect that we want. Keep seeing chat popping up and down on TikTok, so I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any messages because my computer does not notify me for TikTok messages. Only Twitch and YouTube. Back here at the back is going to be a little bit easier. Don't have quite as many tight muscle groups back here as I do along the front of the Mini. Do I stream on Twitch as well? Yes, I am currently live on Twitch. If you're watching me in landscape on TikTok, my Twitch address is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And if you go over to my Twitch page, on the About Me tab, there is a permanent Discord link. So you can hop into the Discord and see some of my finished models and projects that other folks are working on as well, and add your own if you would so like to. Yes, the Twitch page is there. It's Dune_Gunner. Found you. Yep. Thank you for the follow, who burned my toast. Much more cool things happen over here on Twitch when you like join and follow and all that kind of stuff. TikTok is very basic because I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know it's a good place to get attention and bring people over to Twitch to have them hop in the Discord. Because that's when you can actually, share more things with more people and have, static images of the projects you've been working on by sharing things to Twitch, and it's all in one place for everybody, which is very nice. If you're working on building a community with other people. But the little banner that says Discord is the permanent link. You just click on the banner and it will take you straight to the Discord server. And you can just check out what everybody's been working on over there. It's very small right now. I just started it not that long ago at the request of another viewer. It's very easy to find like people minded. Yeah, and everybody that paints, and you don't even have to paint minis. It's just like if you have other art projects that you're working on, I mean, it's always cool to see what other people are doing. So that's why I'll say something about the Discord server. so I can see what other people are working on, whether it's painting or they make music, edit video clips. Like, it's always cool to see what everybody else is working on. Oh man, this thing is taking a while. Let's do a brush rinse real quick. See those little chunks of paint in the tip of my brush that annoy me to no end. But that's just part of painting with acrylics. You get that like little bit of dried paint on the bristles as you're painting, and you'll always end up with like this little ball right at the tip of your brush that messes up the paint flowing off your brush. Super obnoxious. You know the paints will stain your bristles. I know it's unavoidable. Oh yeah. Like I have a brush that I just got, and you know, I knew it was gonna happen as soon as I used it. Where's it at? For painting larger sections of the dreadnought. I mean, these were like very bright white bristles, and they're all gray, and there's a bunch of black towards the back of the bristles now. But it happens, and I use cheap brushes from Hobby Lobby. I have 2, maybe 3 fancy brushes that I only use for very specific things. Everything else is cheap brush from Hobby Lobby. Yeah. Amazon has some good deals on some brushes. Dang it. I didn't paint his ear. Fortunately, I can just rinse my brush out real quick and grab some of the base coat. And throw some paint on his ear real quick. Which is why we like to use a wet palette. Because I still have that little bit of extra left over of the last color that I painted. I can smear some on the side of his head real quick. And there we go. Now his ear's painted. So frustrating. But since I have a finer tip brush as well, get in here under his little hairband a little bit better. What exactly? A wet palette has a sponge underneath a piece of paper that allows some of the moisture through, so your paint doesn't ever actually dry on it. Like, it'll thicken up a little bit, but this paint has been on my palette for about a week. I can still pick some up and paint with it. So wet palettes are a very useful tool. They're fairly inexpensive, and if you want to go the super cheap route, you can make your own. If you've got like a meal prep dish, which is what I used to do, a meal prep dish, you put some paper towels in the bottom of it, and then some parchment paper, like out of the kitchen that you cook with. Cut a piece of parchment paper, and you soak the paper towels in water, and you let the parchment paper absorb water, and you have your own down and dirty, quick and easy wet palette to use. So you don't have to run out and spend a bunch of money on some fancy plastic tray that has a sponge in it. Yeah, there's all sorts of YouTube videos telling you how to make your own wet palette. I wanted to try it, just to see how it was, see if I'd like it. Obviously I liked it because I went out and, bought a real one. But it is definitely not required for painting minis. Although the one I'm currently using has a very strange paper layer, and I am considering about switching back to using parchment paper with it. I just think the paint flows a little bit better with the parchment paper. But I don't know, I'm still getting used to it. But I do like it. Part's a little frustrating because it's such a long stretch of skin. I'm struggling to keep the paint super smooth on it. But we will manage. I'm sorry, I get a little quiet when I'm trying to do like a fine detail sometimes. Is a slight separation of the muscles right here at the top of the shoulder that I'm trying to maintain. Just for a little bit of extra, ooh, fancy. There we go. So running out of some of the more thinned down paint, so I needed to add a little bit of extra water. There we go. I had to kind of look at it on the screen every once in a while, see how it's coming out, because it looks a little bit different on camera than it does from how I see it. I want to make sure it looks good on camera because I have to take pictures of this thing to submit the final result. Also got some extra spots on his chest where the muscles flexed and pulling the skin a little bit different. Trying to maintain those lines. But this one is definitely taking me outside of my comfort zone of what I'm used to painting. But I am pretty happy with how it's turning out. Like I said, this is what I like about these painting contests, because it makes me try new things that normally I probably wouldn't do. Because it's like, oh, I just want to paint my Black Templar army. And as long as I'm good at painting that, I'll be fine. But that doesn't make me a good all-around painter, so I have to push myself and try new things. Like painting nipples on a super ripped dude. Sorry, I have a strange sense of humor sometimes. I think that's looking good. For something that I've made one other attempt with on, just messing around with unthinned paints to do a little bit of back flab to this, I think it's turning out well. It's always exciting when you learn a new technique and get, for what you think are good results. Like, if you're happy with the results you're getting, then yeah, you did it right. And don't do that, don't compare yourself or your skill to the skill of others. Or compare your minis to like professional miniature painters. I mean, because you're already going to be your own biggest critic. And then trying to compare, like what you're capable of to, somebody that's been painting for, 20 years at a professional level. Like, and you're not going to get the exact same results, but as long as you're getting results that you're happy with, you're doing it right. I want to make sure I get these scars covered real well. Even though I will be going a lighter color on them. And then I will be doing a wash on them when we get to that point. Just very targeted wash when we get to that point. Spraying yourself is not as good. I can do edge highlighting. Can't do edge highlighting, but at least you can do something to try. Exactly. And a lot of edge highlighting is finding the brush that works for you to do it. One of the things that I found, because I found a really good brush for doing edge highlights with, and that is the only thing that I do with that brush. Like, I might paint a couple of like super fine details with it every now and then, but its primary purpose in my collection of brushes is 100% edge highlighting. That's like all I do with that brush. Make sure that it's still looking natural. If I'll keep that separation line or not. Cover that one up, just doesn't look right to me. It's not as significant of a muscle separation to keep it like that. And keep your brush moist, even if you don't like the word moist. That is the condition your brush needs to stay in. (9:02). I am probably gonna need a little bit of extra time to finish this mini with as long as this detail work is taking. Because normally I try and knock these out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those are my normal painting streaming days. But I might have one on Saturday to finish this up, because it may just take that long. See what I'm talking about? Touching the mini with your bare hand. Skin oils knock some of the paint off. So I might have to wear gloves on both hands while painting this guy. Normally I don't do. Said I'm trying to make this one look as nice as possible because it's a contest piece. And I know it's not a major contest, so this one's just for fun and a gift card at the local game store, but still, I'm gonna push myself on it. And making sure our paint is nice and thin, trying to avoid brush strokes. You don't have to get perfect coverage the first time you go over it. You can come back and hit it again. This arm has gift card for a painting store and making Da Vinci level paint job for that. I mean, I'm doing my best. I'm glad they have different categories because they've got a beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels for the painting contest. I'm in at the intermediate level because I think I'm an average painter, maybe slightly above average, but I'm definitely not, Golden Dragon worthy by any means, or Golden Demon, or whatever that contest is called. I have a very long way to go before I consider myself at that level. But I'm not trying, well, I am trying to make a little bit of money doing this eventually, but I'm not trying to win any like major contests. Like I said, this is very much a hobby for me that I enjoy doing. Hi, honey, lurking in the back of the room.
Watching your stuff.
So much detail on this guy.
Ooh. I'm not done.
I don't think I've gotten much done at all. I've got so far to go.
Notice he had a
Huh?
the ponytail hair in the back.
Oh, yeah. So close to finish it so far. I'm nowhere near close to finished. Maybe close to finished with this layer of paint that I'm doing. But after I do this color, I still have another lighter color to go over the skin with. Because this is a 3-part skin recipe that I found online and I'm following. But I do like the results so far. But I may have to go a little bit longer tonight than I normally do because I at least want to finish this layer. And I still have the rest of this arm to do and his face. But I have 50 minutes to get it done, so I'm not going to try and speed through it. But I am going to try and get it done. I have to be very careful right now because I got my paint a little extra runny. There is such a thing as thinning your paint too much. I'm definitely going to have to bring these lines in a little bit, getting the very separated look on the shoulder. It is looking good. Very comic book-esque right now. Yeah, I'm super happy with how it's coming out so far. And I always do that. Like I'm always super nervous about starting a new project and how it's going to come out, and then I start, focusing on what I'm trying to achieve out of it, and it just, because I'm, really paying attention to what I'm doing, and uh, really focused on a good product or a good result out of what I'm doing. I just lock in and get it done and surprise myself pretty much every single time. But that's part of the reason I do this. Because when you finally finish that model and you got all your hard work in there, and you finally get to see the finished result of the hours and hours that you spent, meticulously painting, super tiny little sections, all these little lines, and then it comes out, even remotely close to, how you envisioned it in your head, it's always so satisfying. Which is why I keep doing this and why I do it live, so I get to share my excitement with anybody that stops in and watches. I love it. I love every minute of doing this. The other day after we picked this up from the hobby store, uh, my wife asked me if I still enjoy, painting the minis. I'm like, yeah, obviously. So much fun. Like I said, it's so cool to, finally see the finished results every time you finish a model. Yeah, exactly. What are you talking about? Obviously, I'm still having fun doing it. I mean, you should definitely know, because I get a little cranky when I don't get my mini painting time. Like, I want to paint minis. I don't want to do laundry. But sometimes you have to be an adult. There's so many strange shapes on the bottom of this guy's arm. Exactly. I want to go to Chili's. I want to sit in my basement and play with my paint set. Leave me alone. And yes, my office is in the basement of our house. So, legitimately, I will go hide in my basement and paint little chunks of plastic. Well, eventually one of these days. get a big boy job and save up your money. Although it is very, very difficult right now for people to do that. Hoping some of this economic weirdness calms down soon. Nothing political about it, just strange. I do not want to spend my hobby time talking about politics. Just leave it at the door. That's all I ask. Paint minis, have fun. Have conversation. Man, this section is awkward, but I know it's realistic because my arm does the same thing. So whoever sculpted this mini did a lot of homework on how human muscles move. Definitely looking neat on camera. Can't complain about that. It's gonna take me so long to clean my brush out tonight. It's gonna be ridiculous. Sorry, I'm getting quiet again. Just trying not to mess up the underside of this guy's arm. Not that it's a spot that anybody's gonna like super focus on if they ever pick this thing up and look at it. Yep, this brush is definitely getting a rubbing alcohol bath tonight. Get the extra paint out of it. As well as brush soap to refresh it. because it has definitely put in work for me tonight. I actually had to switch to a different one for a while because I definitely feel a lot of, or see a lot of dry paint in the bristles. Keep it from flexing very well. Get the fine lines and details that I'm trying to do. Yeah. Yeah, and trying to get in here around his bicep is going to be a little rough. Yeah, I need to take a minute to get some of this paint out of this brush real quick. Especially doing a difficult to reach area, I need the bristles to flex a little bit more than what they are. So unfortunately, from time to time, we have to do a little bit of brush maintenance. That got most of it. Just there we go. That should get the brush moving again the way it's supposed to. Definitely needed that. Pretty much. Gotta slow down, take a break, let the kids go to the bathroom, all that stuff before continuing on our journey. And that was too much water. Sure I don't have an excessive amount of paint on my hand, or any paint on my hand for that matter. Pick the Mini back up, and I see too much water on the brush. There we go. Okay. Yes, let's play the intense hyper-focus music now. Sometimes it's hard to tell like which direction to hold the Mini in while you're trying to do a little bit of painting. And I know I should like try and pick out the veins and stuff on his hand eventually, and bicep, but I don't think I'm gonna manage to do that very well. But at least we've made it down the arm to the hand at this point. I'm sorry, my head's getting in the way because I'm trying to focus in on what I'm doing. Working on a small part again. And I don't always manage to keep the dude on screen. Sometimes you have to come up with creative ways to brace your hands to continue painting. But we're making it work. Oh, I missed a spot doing the cleanup. That's frustrating. He's got like this big support crater on the back of his hand. Maybe I can do something creative with it and turn it into like a ring or something around his middle finger. Because I will say that is my only complaint about this mini. It took a lot of effort trying to get it cleaned up to get ready to paint. But it's fine. Part of the challenge. Part of the challenge of painting the mini is doing the cleanup work. So it's just hard to see on this section where I'm supposed to be getting the paint to get his thumb. But we're getting it. We got it. Whew. So we're getting a lot of good work done tonight, so can't really complain about it. I'm happy with how he's turned out so far. Just keep working around him. I have to flip him over and get the other side of his fingers as I'm going. Because that's also kind of a difficult part of painting minis is getting the hands. But that's a difficult part of art altogether. Is doing good hands. For whatever reason, hands are one of the most difficult things to draw and have them look natural. There we go. And now we're gonna do like a lighter tone and catch some more of the higher raised spots. So the skin tone should hopefully even out over time as we get more and more done, more and more layers. Oh, you're at that insert the tabs and twist point, because that can be a little tricky sometimes. Just be patient. Don't get overly aggressive with it. Not that I'm a dreadnought expert by any means. I'm still working on the very first one I've ever started. But I did notice during assembly it can be a little bit difficult to get those things into the armhole and get them to lock in. Yeah. Congratulations. Oops. Well, that was unfortunate, but it's fine. Didn't need that much extended definition on the back of the hand anyway. It all works out. Alright, got some well-defined fingers. Muscles around the arm, across the back. Alright. It's time to go for a more detailed brush. To finish his face for the evening. I don't think that one's gonna work. This one? Yep. This is the one that I need to use. Chicken butt. No. What's up? Transfer sheet time? Oh. That can either be a very good and exciting time or a very infuriating, frustrating time. I hope for you it's a very good and exciting time. It's alright. I just saw the back of his ear and neck area back here. It is not the easiest to get to. Then I'm just gonna kind of flub a little bit just to get some paint back there. Because that's a portion of the model that's fairly well hidden back there. There you go. Good enough for government work. All right. There's an ear. A little bit of paint in here around his mouth. Should work. Being very careful around the nose not to cover up all the little detail. Keep a definition around that nostril flare. Come on, buddy. Why not both? I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, both a good time and a frustrating time when you're doing transfers? Yeah, it can be. It most definitely can be. Try and get his nose painted. also getting fairly low on paint on my wet palette. But it's alright, because we are almost done. Just need to paint his forehead. Alrighty. I think that's probably where we are going to end it tonight. But we have made some good progress on this guy. But I do have a very, very long way to go before he is finished. But thank you everyone for stopping by and watching. And we will definitely be back on Thursday night to continue working on this guy. But until then, everybody, you have a good night. Get some rest. Have fun with your hobby. And we will definitely see you next time.